Growing up, I always loved cooking. It was kind of an escape for me, I guess. I remember every day I'd come home from school and just cook up whatever recipe I was working on at the time. So, funny story, last time I tried to cook, I was cooking ramen, and I always adored the food channel, and I hoped that one day I would have my own show on the food channel. So naturally, I decided the best bridge to achieving that goal would be to start my own online cooking show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Sal. Today we're going to be making one of my favorite dishes. We're going to be making my famous gyro sandwich with some oregano sprinkled on top. The only problem is that I have no idea how to cook. So I did what any other rational person would do, and I hired someone else to cook for me. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next clip.
Cut!
Alright, that's a wrap. Good work.
I mean, this isn't the worst job I've ever done. The hardest part was that I couldn't see a single thing.
Edward does screw up pretty often. The vanilla, and put that in the saucepan. A lot of the time his head will pop up. Product. Yeah, so I think it'll really work out really well.
Cut! We can see you.
Other times he just doesn't get the cue. Right, and now we're gonna dice the tomatoes. And we're gonna chop the tomatoes. Chop the tomatoes.
I mean, my family has a long history of hand models. Here's a picture of my mom and my grandpa. And here's a picture of our family Christmas card last year. I mean, ever since a young age, you know, I've been forced to be like, you know, something I don't want to be. Like I don't want to be a hand model, but it's crazy how they say that you're destined to do one thing, but you just don't want to do it. You know, growing up as a kid, I always, you know, tried to rebel in my teen years. You know, I took up gardening, and I had an obsession over Michael Jackson, just whatever had to do with gloves. The only problem was all the things that I tried just never worked out for me, and always came back to hand modeling. I decided one last time to try a job that wasn't hand modeling.
When I was searching for someone to be my ghost chef, I worked all day on this flyer. I was really proud of it.
I saw this trashy flyer, and I
was actually really shocked at how quickly I got a response. I mean, people must have been really fighting over this job position.
I was so desperate for a job.
When I first met Edward, I remember thinking, we're probably going to become really good friends.
My first thought was, this was a huge mistake.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi.
So the only part of you that'll actually be visible is your hands. So I guess you'll be, in a way, my own personal hand model. Shortly after Edward joined the team, we had this guy Nick come up to us, and Nick was saying, you know, I just graduated from a 4-year culinary school, and that he knows basically everything about cooking. So he said, wow, okay, I think you'd make a great cameraman.
You know, Nick was never happy as cameraman, and I just wish I knew why.
Once I had my crew assembled, we were ready to start cooking. Once we're done with that, we're gonna go on to the next step, which is grabbing the butter, and now we're just gonna put the knife down, put it down. I went to Wendy's earlier. After a while, the three of us actually became pretty good friends. You know, we'd actually do all these activities together. Yeah, we just enjoyed hanging out with each other and spending time together. All three of us. I remember one time we spent a couple months just growing out our beards, and I think there's the picture of the final result.
You know, things were going great. It was a really good time, but you know, all good things come to an end.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Sal. Today we're going to be preparing some chicken.
It was like any other day. You know, we were making some food, and we had Nick try the end result, and
Nick said something like, "Oh, the chicken is cold" or whatever, and I said something like, "Oh no, it's just cold in here. There's probably a draft coming in from somewhere."
And he was saying stuff like, "Did you even cook this chicken at all?" Or like, "Is this gonna kill me?" And
After a while, we convinced Nick to eat the food since, frankly, he was kind of starting to embarrass us on camera a little bit. And then he died.
I'm not dead. I never died. I just quit to find a better job. They were too embarrassed to admit that I quit, so they just made up some story that I died.
eventually people just started asking questions about like how Nick died, and we told them the truth. The chicken murdered Nick.
Apparently, the authorities take things very seriously when someone dies, and the whole thing actually ended up going to court.
I was really surprised when I heard there was a court trial over my death. I was tempted to say something, but I kind of wanted to just see how it played out.
The jury didn't really like the idea of a chicken murdering Nick, especially since it was dead at the time of the crime, but so we had to pivot.
We ended up tracing the whole thing back to the man who raised the chicken that killed Nick, Farmer Jenkins. Farmer Jenkins seemed like a nice man on the outside, but now he's a convicted murderer, and he's serving his time for it.
Justice was served.
Nah, I don't know.
After Nick left the show, things really started to go downhill for us.
Without a cameraman, it's kind of hard to do just about anything.
I had to start filming myself, which led people to start asking, do you have 3 arms? And that whole ruse got busted. Eventually, I think me and Edward were starting to think the same thing.
After a while, it became obvious we had to end the show.
Cooking will always be my escape, and just because I ended Cooking with Sal doesn't mean that I gave up my dream of getting a show on the Food Network. I'm just trying a different path to that goal now. I started my own blog about food reviews, and it's going really well. I don't know if you've heard of the site Yelp, but yeah, that's where you can find me now. I'm really excited about it.
Ever since I escaped from that horrible job at Sal's cooking show, things have been going pretty well for me. Now I'm an assistant chef at Chili's Bar and Grill, and everything's really looking up for me. I just hope that I didn't peak too early in life.
Cooking with Sal, it changed my life. It turns out that the thing I was trying to escape from the whole time was actually right for me. I just never gave it the light of day. I'm a hand model now, and I'm happy with it. And Cooking with Sal really did change my life, and I know it changed many others, like Farmer Jenkins.